of you who are curious, this is Aria. She's my new puppy.
She's adorable.
Yeah, Cody is with my dad right now. There's a storm going on where we are, and he doesn't like those, so he's being with my dad right now.
Mhm. But anyway, so welcome to a new month, and in case you haven't figured it out by now from my grunt plushie or even Dragon's shirt, this month we're talking about Mass Effect, a RPG created by the video game company BioWare. It's about space, and
your choices have a big impact on the story.
So, like we usually do, we're going to be talking about 4 characters from the video game. We are excluding Commander Shepard because Shepard is your character and is completely customizable.
You pick the background, you pick the personality, you pick the morality, you pick who they get along well with. So we could talk about the ones we tend to make, but it's not the same.
So we'll be talking about a squad mate, a villain, an important non-playable character, and a minor non-playable character.
And in this case, the minor, it means that they didn't have a huge impact on the plot of the story. They were someone like you'd randomly run into, and they might have a big impact in their own little subplot of the game, but the game at large didn't need them.
So we're going to be starting this series with a squad mate. And we picked one of our favorite characters in the whole game and our favorite squad mate, Garrus Vakarian.
Yes, he is one of 2 characters who are your squad mates in all 3 games.
So, like our previous videos, let's start with a little bit of background information. So, Garrus Vakarian was born on the Turian homeworld of Palaven, and like most Turians, he started military training at the age of 15. But later on in life, he ended up joining CSEC, or Citadel Security, as it's really called.
He was offered to join a special training regiment for Spectre candidates, but his dad didn't like it, so he didn't go for that.
Mm-hmm. So while Garrus was working for CSEC, that is when he met Commander Shepard. And
well, Shepard accused a Spectre named Saren of killing another Spectre.
Mm-hmm.
So there was an investigation that Garrus was put in charge of, though they didn't give him a lot of time or like any resources, so he couldn't find anything, which pissed him off because he knew the guy was dirty.
And he tried getting more time in his investigation. He asked his boss, Executor Palin, but Garrus his investigation was closed in the end.
That's actually how you meet him. You're going to the council chambers for Saren's trial, and when you get out of the elevator, he and Palin are like right in front of you arguing. So that's how you meet Garrus for the first time.
Mm-hmm. But after that encounter, the next time you see Garrus is when you're going to talk to Dr. Michelle, and she is being ambushed by men who work for somebody named Fist, who is working for someone known as the Shadow Broker, who's allied with Saren. And Garrus helps you defeat the men, but he did almost risk Dr. Michelle's life.
He almost risked her life. He did risk her life.
Or he did risk her life. But after that, you have the option to get Garrus to join your squad.
If you say no, he accepts that and leaves, and you don't see him for the rest of the game. Now, that's actually not the only time you could recruit him, because there's two people you need to recruit when you're in that area. If you go for the other one first, then Garrus just approaches you later on while you're still in the area and asks to help you. And then you have the option to say yes or no, and things proceed as they would regardless.
But if you say yes to letting him join your crew, then he does become a very valuable member, and you're given a side mission with him later to help him track down and stop a Solarian doctor who he had dealt with in the past.
Yeah, he was like an organ harvester. It was really, really creepy.
Mm-hmm.
But through that, he's kind of like, he's not a dirty cop. He is not, but he's more willing to do things like beat up a suspect, or, well, as shown with what we said earlier, keep up, like, there's a hostage, kind of disregard their safety to still get the guy.
We'll basically do anything to make sure that a case is solved, even if that means putting other people at risk.
So it's through conversations you have with him, because after every, like, main mission, you can go down to where he's hanging out on your ship, and you can talk with him like you can do with all of your other squad mates, and you get some dialogue options, and, you, depending upon your choices, you can either encourage his cowboy cop behavior, or encourage him to rein it in. Because you can either say, yeah, all that matters is getting the guy, or you can say, that's important, but so are the people you're trying to protect.
Yes.
So, again, that depends on who you decide you want to be.
Yeah. Because Shepard can either be a paragon or a renegade.
Or a mix. A lot of people do mixes. Besides the point right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can take him on missions with you. He, in the game, he's got combat and tech points in that one, because that's how they do it.
So if you're going on missions in the Mako, then Garrus is one of the two best options to have with you, because that will make repairing the Mako easier, and it will make hacking into things easier as well.
But that's mostly personal opinion. If I'm not going on a main mission, I like to shuffle around who I bring so I can give them points when I level up.
Mm-hmm.
But, so like, you can bring him around with you, you can take him on missions, you can leave him on your ship, the Normandy. That's personal, your personal preference. Although he has some really funny lines if you bring him to Ilos, which is one of the last main places you go.
Yeah, that he does.
Like, you got the Mako, which is like your, kind of like your Land Rover. And like there's this tunnel that you have to go down. Along the lines of, he wants to bring the Mako down the creepy tunnel. Like, he just says it in like this voice that's kind of serious but kind of sarcastic. And, well, the last time I played, I had him and Rex with me for that. He's another squad mate, obviously. And Rex is like, oh, that's a good idea. So we did it.
Yep. So that's Garrus in the first game.
Well, also, like, he advocates, again, for destroying the enemy at the cost of some important high-ups at the end. I won't say in case, spoilers, anyone like me, and then someone who has not played the game is watching this. But yeah, so then, he leaves the ship, and he can either, like, join that program that's training Spectres, or he can go rejoin CSEC, which he says he's going to do, varies depending upon your actions throughout the game and your conversations with him. But he does leave at some point, because when we play Mass Effect 2...
in the very beginning...
it's been like a month or so since the events of the first game when you first start playing, and Tali is mentioned to have still been on the ship. Liara was still on the ship. but Garrus was not mentioned to have been there, so it's assumed that he'd left before then.
But so after you die in the second game, because in the very beginning the Normandy does get blown up and
you get spaced, and then you have a shot of your character flailing around in space with their oxygen cable cut.
Oh.
So, not a fun image.
No, but
Then you get revived, and then you ask about the whereabouts of your previous squad mates, and when you ask about Garrus, you're told, in a nutshell, we have no idea, he's going completely off the map.
But later on in the game, when you are recruiting people for your squad, you go to Omega, and the person you are recruiting goes by the alias Archangel. And he
turns out to be Garrus.
Yep.
You go there, you have a reunion. Either you've met him in the previous game, well, you have met him regardless, and he joined your squad, and then it's an overjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
You're still alive, and he's like, you're not dead, and it's a thing.
Yeah, but when he's on
if you didn't recruit him, it's still a hi, how are you, but it's not as enthusiastic.
Yeah, but apparently while Garrus was on Omega, he managed to piss off 3 very powerful gangs.
Which is impressive if you think about it.
So the Blue Suns, the Blood Pack, and
Eclipse
all want him dead.
So yeah, so they're coming at him in waves. You go and help him, and you're successful for the most part. But then they shoot him in the face with the gunship.
Yes.
So then
You take him back to the Normandy.
Turians apparently bleed blue.
Yes. So you take him back to the Normandy, and with some cybernetics, skin graft, and a lot of bandage, Dr. Chakwas is able to save him.
Yeah, and if you go with the Paragon reply when he asks you how he looks, because no one would give him a mirror. But I enjoy the response because you're like, you're always ugly.
Slap some face paint on, and no one will be able to tell the difference.
And I get a laugh out of him, and he's like, don't make me laugh, my face can't take it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. And so you talk about how, he's still willing to follow you through hell, and he's got your back, and how much you appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all if you've recruited him in the first game. I don't know how it's different if it's the second game.
Because both of us did recruit him in all our playthroughs.
Yeah, so we don't really know, and we've never really bothered to look into it, so sorry about that. So then it's pretty much the same as with the first one in regards to you can take him with you on missions, and after all the bigger ones, you can go talk to him. You find out that Turians have a great love for calibrating.
Yes, they do.
And this game actually, which is interestingly enough, it mostly came about because it was such a popular thing among the fans before it. He becomes a possible love interest.
Mm-hmm. But that can't be done until you complete his loyalty mission, which you have to do in this game with all of your squad mates.
Yeah, if you don't, then they will probably die during the suicide mission at the end. And plus, if you do it, from an aesthetic point of view, it gives them an alternate armor they can wear, so you can change the color scheme of their outfit, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, it gives them a new move, for lack of a better word.
Mm-hmm. So, Garrus's loyalty mission is...
It's called an eye for an eye, because he says some dude betrayed him on Omega and got the rest of his squad killed, and he wants revenge. And he's like, there's a human saying, an eye for an eye.
Mm-hmm. But this squad mate, his name was Sidonis, he was also a Turian, and he is hiding on the Citadel. So you have to go to the Citadel, you
meet some familiar faces from the first game.
Like, your contact to, or...
If she wants to go, let her go.
Sorry. Like, the contact who helped Sidonis get a new identity, he goes by Fist, but it's actually, his name is Harkin, and he was
We're sorry about her.
Yeah, sorry. She's very, very anxious to move.
Yeah.
But Harkin was basically this drunk C-sec officer.
He only stayed in CSEC because he was one of the first humans on the force, and it would look bad if they fired him.
Mm-hmm. But eventually, in the second game, he's out of the job. He starts making people disappear. Sidonis was one of them, so you have to go to him. Garrus roughs him up, and you can tell him.
Well, throughout the whole area where you're chasing down Harkin and fighting waves of mechs and blue sun mercs that he has, Garrus is getting very, I guess, aggressive is the best word, and well, we usually play as Paragon, so we can't say too much about the Renegade response, but the Paragon is are you sure about this? This seems kind of drastic.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen some videos of the Renegade, and the Renegade option is more encouraging his violent and aggressive behavior, but like we said, we never go that way.
You prefer the Paragon. Again, that's personal preference, and part of the reason why we're not going to talk about Shepard outside of his or her relationships with the people we will discuss. So, moving on. So you get down to Harkin, and you're talking to him, and Garrus headbutts him.
Which is very funny.
And also must have been exceedingly painful for Harkin, because Turians look like their skin is really tough.
Yeah, they do.
Really, Arya has things to say about that. You repeat the whole he calls Sidonis then.
So Fisk calls Sidonis and sets up a meeting.
Fist.
Or Harkin, I'm sorry. Harkin contacts Sidonis and sets up a meeting, telling him his identity's been compromised or something along that line. And Garrus is still not very happy with Harkin, so what does he do?
Well, he takes out his gun, and the Renegade option is basically to do nothing. You don't stop anything, you don't press anything, and Garrus shoots him.
Mm-hmm.
The Paragon interrupt that pops up, though, you do stop him, and he winds up just shooting Harkin in the leg.
Mm-hmm.
You can give him this look, and he's like, what?
I didn't kill him.
So then you go to meet Sidonis. So Garrus is a sniper,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a very good one at that. So he goes to find some sniper perch, and you're supposed to go talk to Sidonis, get him in the line of sight, and then Garrus will take the shot, and his dead comrades will be avenged. So you're talking to Sidonis, and you realize, yeah, he did something terrible, there's no excuse for that, but he is a wreck over it.
He is. It's like he's a walking shell at this point.
Yeah, you can, if you talk Garrus out of, or at least you try to talk Garrus out of doing it, you really do say, there's really nothing to kill at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But, what you do, though, if you don't want him to take the shot, is you literally stand in the way. And Sidonis tries to leave, and you're like, I am literally the only thing standing between you and a bullet to the head.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't talk Garrus down.
Or if you want to be a renegade, you can just let him take the shot. Yeah. Either way, you do get Garrus's loyalty.
Not really much happens if you do the renegade, because Garrus is like, I did it.
Mm-hmm.
Huzzah.
Mm-hmm.
But you get into a bit of a deeper conversation if you do Paragon, and he's like, he talks about how things are simpler when you look at them in black and white, and he's not sure what to do with gray, and you try to be like, he did the right thing, and
Mm-hmm.
and then in your next conversation, you can propose what basically amounts to a friends with benefits type deal.
Yes.
He talks about how Turians, if they're doing high stress missions, they do tend to pair up to have sex quite often. So you suggest trying that yourselves. And
Yes, you call it blowing off steam.
because he called it that, and she just took the phrase, and
Mm-hmm.
you can only do it if you're a female shepherd. If you're a male shepherd, you're just friends, you're best friends basically.
Mm-hmm.
And the romance is so awkward and adorable.
It is. He really doesn't know what to
He's he's adorable about the whole thing, and it's just really cute.
Mm-hmm. And
he keeps embarrassing himself.
And if you're a female shepherd, you do try and get him to relax, and he does say how he just wants something to go right in his life.
And he does give you the option to back out like a ton of times. He's like, if you don't want, if you want something closer to home, and you can basically answer that with, I want someone I can trust.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not really surrounded by a lot of people you can trust at this point.
No.
So then, the night before the suicide mission, you can. Well, they don't really okay, so in the first game with your love interest for that game, there's an explicit sex scene. They don't show you anything.
No.
But they show you enough to let you know it's about to happen and it is now over.
Yes.
Garrus doesn't really get that, but he does show up in your cabin and you have a bit of a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the suicide mission. And in the suicide mission, he is one of the options to have leading a second squad that will always work. So he won't die and no one under his command will die.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it for number 2.
So number 3, the last one.
So you see him on the moon you go to, one of Paladin's moons, because you need to find a general. So he's there, you have a reunion.
Mm-hmm.
He joins your squad because you need someone else with you at this point.
And he helps you with the Primarch, because you have the Turian Primarch on your ship for...
Yeah, you're there because there's a general who's going to be promoted to Primarch. So you need to go find him. So you do that. Garrus helps you kick lots of Reaper husk ass.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. And then you get back to the Normandy, and Garrus joins up with you again.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have another reunion on the Normandy, if you were just a friend, you still have a fun moment with him. And if he was your chosen love interest in number 2, you have the option to rekindle that romance.
Mm-hmm. Which he's still very awkward about.
Yeah, but he's more confident than he was in the first one.
Definitely.
He's still kind of awkward with it, but it's less of a nervous awkward.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
So again, you can take him with you on your missions.
And like with all the other squad mates, he has some unique dialogue options.
Mm-hmm. When you go to the Citadel in the 3rd game, there's this one little scene you can do where you hang out with him and you go on top of the Presidium and
you shoot bottles.
Yes, and if he's your love interest, then he will ask you if you're ready to be a one Turian kind of woman.
And he actually kisses you if you say yes. That's a thing, because Turians don't really do that, because they're not
mm-hmm.
physically built for that kind of stuff, but he still does it, so it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, though, it's still just a friendship moment, and you're shooting bottles, and if you intentionally miss and let him win your competition, he gets so happy.
Yes.
But other than that, he is usually in the docking bay with the Turian refugees organizing stuff. So you can go down and talk to him a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Get some dialogue options there. Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff.
And then there's what happens in the Citadel DLC.
Yeah. Because, he's there for a lot of other stuff in the game, but he doesn't need to be brought to all of them, and so we're not really going to go into that, because
mm-hmm.
it's not the same with everyone's playthrough, but he can, like I said before, he can be there for, most people bring him to almost every mission, because he's one of the more powerful squad mates.
Mm-hmm.
So especially if you're playing, hardcore or something, it's just better to bring him.
Mm-hmm.
But so then there's as Barry was saying, the Citadel DLC, which is hilarious.
Yes. If he is your romance option, then in the very beginning when you're being hunted down by
This group of mercs, he calls you and he's like, "What the hell is going on?" And you're like, I don't know.
He's like, luckily Archangel is your boyfriend.
He's coming to save you, basically. So he asks you, like, what do you know about the mercs that are chasing you? They have guns and they don't like me. He does not find that response helpful.
No.
So he does eventually show up and he saves you from a small group that have you pinned. He gets this Volus worker at like this car dealership that you're currently standing in because you're running all over the place dodging bullets to open up a window so you can move on. And if Garrus is not your love interest though, either your actual love interest shows up, or if your love interest isn't a squad mate in that game, Yara shows up to save you. So then fighting ensues further, and one of my favorite parts of the DLC happens in that Rex, who we haven't talked much about because this is not his video, he will get one in the future. He is a Krogan, they're basically these huge aliens that are, for the most part, pretty barbaric, and they love to fight. He crashes through a window.
And takes down a ship.
Well, it's a car.
Or a car.
And the car crashes, and he's fine, and all the mercs that were in it are, like, dead or unconscious, I'm not too sure, and he's like, yo.
Yeah.
It's fun, it's very fun.
So that's the beginning of the Citadel DLC.
Yeah, and then you go to an apartment that was recently given to you, because it's as good as any other place to hide, and everyone else shows up, all your other squad mates, and a plan is made on what to do because, someone is trying to kill you, and none of them are happy about that. So then you and this NPC character are going to go infiltrate this party to talk to this dude, so then you pick a squad mate to come with you, and the squad mate who comes with you, their job will be to distract the guards while you hack into things and whatnot. So if Garrus comes with you, it's really funny. It's like how he distracts the guards is just ridiculous.
Yes.
He's like, the game's cheating, or he's like, I'm on the outs with my human girlfriend, do you have any tips?
Or he'll ask about, like, their weapon.
Yeah, the weapon of the guards. This is funny. And then later on, when you go to infiltrate, well, not really infiltrate, you go to storm the gates of the enemy strongholds, basically. And again, there's 3 squads. There is your squad, which includes you and 2 others, as is norm. And then everyone else splits into 2. Half of them are the Mako squad, and half of them are the Hammerhead. And they, they're attacking the enemies like you are. And that's pretty much it. If we want to talk about the really big differences, because everything else is small and well, there are some funny moments, like if he comes with you when you go to storm the Normandy, which is getting stolen, he talks about how he's always wanted to fight in the CIC of the ship.
And I think he's the one who talks about their conversations in the elevator that they used to have in the first game.
No one else misses them but him.
Yeah.
After you finish that part of the DLC, you're going to throw a party. So before you throw it, though, you can run around that area of the Citadel and spend time with your squad mates past and present.
If you go with, when you hang out with Garrus,
it's supposedly to go get drinks.
You go back to the casino that the party was at before, that you infiltrated. And if he's not your romance option, then you basically help set him up with a Turian woman.
doesn't really. He's not good at it, even with his own species.
And if he is your romance option, then
He does the impossible.
he gets you to dance. You tango with him.
And it's not bad, because Shepard is notorious for being a terrible dancer.
Yes. And then there's the party. Now, depending how you play the party, because you can do
Now Cody's here.
hi Cody, an energetic party, a quiet party, or you can mix it up. For part of the party, depending on how you play it out, Garrus decides that your apartment is not safe enough.
Nope.
So he teams up with
Another squadmate, past squadmate. He's from Mass Effect 2.
His name is Zaid, and they booby trap your apartment.
It is like Home Alone grade stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like blowing up light fixtures and turning your coffee maker into a bomb.
Making your hot tub hotter than the surface of the sun.
Zaid, though, has to stop that one because you're like, but what if, like, 'cause it's like, if someone goes into it, it'll go supernova, and you're like, what if I want to use it?
It's like it's key to your DNA, but a clone would have the same DNA as me.
Because the main villain of the DLC is your clone.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just like, weird stuff. But so yeah, so Zaid then gets pissed off, and like later if you come back and he's still dismantling it, and Garrus is like, let it go, Zaid. And like there's cyanide coming from the sink, and
turning glass that was protecting some plants, making it explode. And he's just like, Shepard, sweetie, love of my life, indulge your crazy boyfriend, I need to know you're safe.
Yeah, this is only if he is the romantic partner. Otherwise, he still is like, just let me do this, I'm your friend.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's so funny. And then, if it's energetic, then there's drinking and dancing, and he partakes in that.
And you're still a bad dancer at the party.
So it gets made fun of, and he pretends to be affronted for you, and he's like, yeah, I can't, I'm sorry.
He's like, I just almost kept it straight there. What is she doing with her arms?
And then you wake up in the morning with your either a one-night stand or your love interest in your bed.
Mm-hmm.
And, if it's Garrus, then Garrus is there. And then in the morning you can walk around and see how all of your hungover friends are.
Mm-hmm.
And so then Garrus is like, if an alarm goes off that you didn't know you had, enter this code, and he gives you a code, or run like hell and blame Zaid. So if he is not your romantic interest,
it's just
a series of numbers I cannot remember. If you are his love interest, then the code is I heart Garrus.
Yes.
And then you have a brief moment with him again if he's your love interest
before you
get back on the Normandy, because it's recommended that you play the Citadel DLC after you finish the game, but chronologically it takes place before the end of the game.
Mm-hmm. So,
and also, and again, this is with all love interests, so we'll bring this up whenever we talk about a love interest in the squadmate section, but at the very end of the game, there's a possibility that Shepard is dead.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to put Shepard's name up on the memorial wall, and your love interest, possibly Garrus, is the one who does it,
mm-hmm.
or in the ending where you don't die, doesn't do it.
Mm-hmm. They'll just hold on to it and hesitate if you survive.
Yep.
If you die, then it goes on the wall.
Yep.
So that's basically Garrus in the games. So on to our other three topics. So does he work as a character?
He is the space Batman to Shepard's space Superman. So that dynamic fits, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of like, not completely, but he's like a renegade Shepard in a way.
Yes.
With not completely, because he's got more morals, but.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he fits in the gameplay. As I said earlier, he's one of the most powerful squad mates. He, I don't know what else to say. I think he fits. There's no area where he doesn't really fit.
No, because even if he changes, because you have the ability to help him change as Shepard, depending on how you play through the game, he still fits. I mean,
he grows as a person, and that's what you want with a character. You don't want them to stay the same for all of the games, because then it's boring. Why does the guy keep coming back if he's the same every time, despite all the shit they go through?
Mm-hmm. So, next part, does he work in the setting? And again, yes. I feel like
he's one of the alien characters, but you're in space dealing with a lot of aliens, so it makes sense.
So it's kind of hard for him to not fit in. But also, he fits in your squad. He interacts well with the people around him. Even
he's one of the friendlier members of your squad too.
Yes. Some people are not so friendly in your squad.
At least not at first. Everyone likes you if you put the work into it, though.
Yes. But no, with how he interacts and how you go about the game, even, he definitely fits in. There's nothing out of place about him.
Yeah.
So, last part, do we like him? Well, yes. I mean,
she loves him very, very much.
You like him too.
Yeah, but you're more vocal than I am. As you can probably tell from the way we were gushing, he is our preferred love interest.
Yes.
Because his romance arc, it is one of the best in the games. And that's not just our opinion, it's, from at least what I've seen on the internet, a widely held one.
I think Jennifer Hale, who voices female Shepard, also went on record and said that Vakarian, the name of the ship for Shepard and Garrus, is her favorite ship in the game.
Because, like, he's the only love interest that, like, doesn't die and stays completely loyal to you.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, other love interests do die.
Or they move on.
Or they, like, hurt you very deeply in some way. Garrus doesn't do any of that. Even if he's not your love interest, he becomes your rock. Like, you can tell throughout the third game, he's saying things and doing things with the clear motive of making you laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And, interestingly enough, if you don't romance him, and if you haven't romanced Tally, and they're both still there, they hook up in Mass Effect 3. And another reason I like him is, so in the second Mass Effect, there's the Shadow Broker DLC. And when you beat it, you have access to the Shadow Broker's files on your squad mates. And his files are my favorite. Grunts are probably my favorite. But Garrus is a close second.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn a lot about Garrus. Like, you knew his issues with his dad already.
You learn he has a sister.
And a mother who has what basically amounts to Turian Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, his family doesn't know where he's been, what he's been doing. But through one of your other squad mates, he was able to pull some strings to get his mother into this experimental program to help her with her disease.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been paying for stuff. but his family doesn't know that, so they're like, you don't even like video chat with us. We don't know what you're doing. You're not helping us at all. What the hell?
Yeah, his sister is very vocal in her messages about that.
Yeah, and you find out he listens to music in his visor thing when he's fighting, which is funny.
That is funny. But so I guess that wraps it up for our Garrus video.
Yep.
So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in our next video where we'll be talking about another Mass Effect character.
Yep. So see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.